The second debate of the 2024 presidential cycle, but the first between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Tonight's debate in Philadelphia, held by ABC, comes after some disagreements over the rules of the event. Valley News Team's senior national correspondent Peter Zampa is in Philadelphia with more on what we can expect.
A familiar format, a new face on stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump squaring off here at the National Constitution Center Tuesday night. Now, in this debate, moderated by ABC anchors David Muir and Lindsay Davis, it will have many of the same rules that we saw from a CNN debate back in June. Now, that one proved fateful for President Joe Biden, who dropped out after a subpar performance. On Tuesday night, once again, we will have no audience, no handwritten notes, no opening statements, and crucially, the microphones will remain muted for candidates when it's not their turn to speak. This proved to be a point of contention, especially for the Harris campaign, who argues the American people deserve to see these exchanges back and forth, any potential outbursts from candidates like we've seen from Donald Trump in the past. Now, that being said, they will have the opportunity to offer follow-ups or rebuttals throughout this 90-minute showdown. Now, as of now, this is the first and only debate between these two candidates on the calendar. That being said, we will see the vice presidential candidates, J.D. Vance and Tim Walz, square off on October 1st in a debate moderated by CBS. Reporting in Philadelphia, I'm Peter Zampa.
As we mentioned, tonight's debate is scheduled for 8 p.m. hosted by ABC News, but you can watch it right here on Valley News Live.